a moment about, well, the language you're hearing right now. It's something we all use pretty effortlessly most of the time, right? To connect, share ideas.
Hmm.
But if you peel back that everyday layer, you find this world just teeming with genuine mysteries, linguistic puzzles that hint at so much more about us.
Absolutely. And that's exactly what we're getting into in this deep dive. You shared a fantastic source with us, Unveiling Language Mysteries, from Ikigai to Sumerian Secrets. And it's just, well, it's a gold mine for these kinds of puzzles.
Right. So our goal here is to journey through some of the really compelling language enigmas, things like, those words that just defy direct translation,
The untranslatable ones, yeah.
and the kind of poignant stories of languages that have vanished, the unique status of language isolates, and those fascinating dialects tucked away in remote corners. We really want to unpack how they reveal fundamental aspects of human culture, of history. And crucially, we'll also touch upon some of the remarkable progress being made. The breakthroughs in linguistic understanding that are actually shedding light on these long-standing questions.
It's like with Sumerian.
Exactly, the evolving understanding of Sumerian and, of course, the huge role of the Rosetta Stone. That was pivotal.
Okay, so prepare for maybe some aha moments as we dive into these linguistic riddles, try to understand their deeper significance, and, well, just appreciate the incredible complexity of human expression. This deep dive is all about scratching that curiosity itch.
Definitely.
Okay, let's start with the fundamental challenges. What are linguists actually up against when they try to make sense of language? What are the big hurdles?
Well, the source material puts it really nicely, like a puzzle with lots of missing pieces.
Mm,
Linguists are constantly grappling with concepts embedded in those untranslatable words.
mm.
The frankly heartbreaking reality of endangered languages just teetering on the brink, and those obscure dialects where understanding can be, well, incredibly difficult sometimes.
It's sort of mind-boggling, isn't it? A word that just doesn't have a direct counterpart.
Yeah.
It makes you really wonder about the unique ways different cultures see the world.
Exactly. And context becomes absolutely critical. Without the cultural backdrop, trying to decipher a language is like, I don't know, trying to read a story with half the chapters ripped out.
Yeah, impossible.
And the source also really emphasizes the urgency, the need to document endangered languages. UNESCO estimates that maybe half, a staggering half, of the world's roughly 7,000 languages could just disappear by the end of this century.
Wow, half.
Yep.
That's huge. A potential loss of cultural heritage on an immense scale.
It really is.
And it's not just about languages vanishing completely, is it? The material also talks about how languages are always changing, always in flux.
Precisely. Languages are, living things, meaning shift, new dialects pop up organically, and this constant transformation keeps linguists busy tracking and understanding these changes. It's a dynamic landscape, always moving.
Okay, let's really focus on this idea of untranslatable words. The source calls them elusive essences, which I love. How did these words give us that glimpse into different worldviews?
Well, what's so fascinating is how these words capture ideas so deeply woven into a culture's way of life or way of thinking that other languages just haven't needed a direct equivalent.
Okay.
Like the Japanese word ikigai, the source rightly calls it a reason for being. It's sort of a blend of passion, purpose, and that daily joy of living.
Oh, right.
And there's just no single English word that fully captures that specific nuanced intersection.
Right, you might say purpose, but that misses the joy bit. Or passion, but maybe not the enduring meaning part. It's like the word itself holds a key to a specific cultural take on a fulfilling life.
Exactly. It tells you something immediately about that cultural emphasis on maybe holistic fulfillment that goes beyond just one English word.
So if you tried to explain that blend, that ikigai idea, to someone, what's the core thing that gets lost in translation without that single word?
I think it's the directness. The acknowledgement that this specific blend isn't just nice to have, but maybe fundamental to a good life. English might break it down into parts, but Ikigai holds them together as one integrated concept.
Interesting.
And then there's the German word Schadenfreude, getting pleasure from someone else's misfortune.
Yes, that one we know, even if we borrow the German word.
Right. And English lacks that precise one-word equivalent. It kind of speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About the acknowledgement within German culture, perhaps, of this particular, maybe less admired human emotion.
It feels quite direct, naming a feeling that maybe other cultures are less keen to openly admit to. These examples really show how language isn't just labeling things. It's actively shaking how we think, how we experience the world.
Precisely. These untranslatable words are almost like cultural touchstones. They encode unique experiences, perspectives that might not have a direct parallel elsewhere.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. The source then gets into lost languages. That sounds so evocative, like echoes from the past. Tell us more about that.
Linguistic ghosts. Yeah, that term really captures it. Lost languages are ones that were spoken, but, well, they just don't have any living speakers anymore. And often our knowledge of them is incredibly fragmented.
So we know they existed, but
But maybe not much more. The example of Etruscan from ancient Italy around 700 BCE is a perfect illustration. We have inscriptions, mostly found in tombs, on pottery, so we know it was there.
the big challenge is we often don't know what those inscriptions actually mean, right?
Exactly that. Etruscan is considered a language isolate, and we'll talk more about isolates in a moment, but because it doesn't seem related to any other known language family, figuring out its grammar, its vocabulary, is immensely difficult.
So scholars are like linguistic detectives.
Pretty much. Piecing together tiny clues like trying to rebuild a whole mosaic from just a few scattered tiles.
That sounds incredibly hard, but also I imagine immensely rewarding when even a small piece clicks into place.
Oh, absolutely.
The source also mentions the Rongorongo script of Easter Island. That's another one, another linguistic enigma that still baffles experts, isn't it?
It is indeed. Rongorongo is this system of glyphs, symbols found on wooden tablets from Easter Island. Its purpose, whether it's even a true writing system, let alone what language it might encode, it's still a huge debate.
Wow.
Another mystery.
It's another really poignant example of a linguistic heritage that just remains stubbornly out of reach. These lost languages, they really underscore how fragile our linguistic past is, and the potential for just countless untold stories to be lost forever.
Yeah.
It's quite sobering, really, to think that with each lost language, a unique way of seeing the world just vanishes too.
It certainly makes you appreciate the work involved in preserving the languages we do understand.
No, no.
Okay, so building on that idea of lost connections, let's turn to the next category. Language isolates. These lone wolves, as the source calls them. What makes them so unique? A language isolate, as the source explains it, is basically a language where we haven't been able to prove any genealogical relationship, any family connection to other languages, living or dead.
They're linguistic orphans, essentially.
That's a good way to put it. And the classic example, the one most people might have heard of, is Basque, spoken in that region straddling northern Spain and southern France.
Right. Basque has always fascinated me. It's surrounded by these major Indo-European languages, Spanish, French, but it just stands completely apart. It's utterly distinct.
Precisely. And despite centuries, literally centuries of linguistic investigation, the origins of Basque are still a huge mystery. There are theories, of course.
Like what?
Some propose links to prehistoric languages in Europe, maybe even languages spoken before the Indo-Europeans arrived. Others suggest ancient migrations, but none of these theories have been definitively proven.
And its structure is different too.
Completely different. Its grammar, its vocabulary, they're unlike anything in its geographical neighborhood, which is why it's such a persistent, captivating puzzle.
So in a way, it's like a living linguistic fossil, a relic.
You could say that, yeah. It potentially offers a window into linguistic landscapes from the very distant past. And the source mentions others too, like Ainu in Japan, Burushaski in Pakistan.
Oh, interesting.
It shows that Basque isn't totally unique in being an isolate, though it's maybe the best-known one in Europe. These isolates really challenge our models of how languages spread and how language families evolve.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What factors allowed these languages to hang on when others around them either changed massively or just disappeared?
Absolutely.
Okay, following this, the deep dive looks at mysterious dialects, the voices from the margins, as the source puts it. What's the story there?
Well, these are dialects that often pop up in communities that are geographically isolated, kind of remote, and because of that isolation, they can develop really distinctive features.
Just to stick.
In pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary. Distinctive enough that it can actually make it pretty hard for speakers of the main language, the one it originated from, to understand them. You get dialects with very low mutual intelligibility.
Meaning they basically can't understand each other easily.
Exactly. Speakers of one dialect might really struggle to understand speakers of another, even though technically it's the same language family.
The source gives the example of the Sioux language in Taiwan. Small number of speakers, right?
Yes, fewer than 2,000 speakers. And within Sioux, dialects have evolved that are so different, they're almost like separate languages within that broader family. The source links this divergence to ancient migrations across Taiwan's rugged terrain. It really shows how geographical separation can drive linguistic change.
And then there's that intriguing example from the Philippines, the Hanuo dialect. What makes that one stand out?
What's really remarkable there is that they still use a pre-colonial script.
Wow.
Yeah, within the Hanuno dialect, it suggests this incredible cultural resilience, a tangible link to a linguistic and cultural heritage that predates outside influences. These often underdocumented dialects are just invaluable. They're reservoirs of linguistic diversity, and they can preserve really old features that have been lost in the more widely spoken forms of the language.
So these smaller linguistic communities can actually teach us a lot about the history of a whole language family and the people who speak it.
Definitely. They hold vital clues.
Now, it's not all just unanswered questions and mysteries, though, is it? The source also highlights some significant breakthroughs. That must be incredibly exciting for linguists.
Oh, absolutely. These are the moments where, decades, sometimes centuries, of painstaking work suddenly pay off with profound new understanding.
Like with Sumerian you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. The source points to recent studies from 2023, actually, suggesting Sumerian, ancient Mesopotamia around 3000 BCE might actually have connections to other ancient Near Eastern language families.
But wasn't it considered an isolate for ages?
For a very long time, yes. So this potential link, this possible genealogical connection, it represents a major shift in how we understand early human migration and linguistic relationships in that whole region. It's huge.
That is monumental. To think a language studied for so long might finally be finding its family tree.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the big one, the Rosetta Stone.
Ah, the Rosetta Stone.
April.
Its discovery in 1799 was just transformative. Its power lies in that trilingual inscription, the same decree written in ancient Greek, Demotic Egyptian, and hieroglyphs.
And because scholars knew Greek.
Exactly. Because they could read the ancient Greek, it provided the crucial key, the code breaker, to finally unlock Egyptian hieroglyphs, which had been an enigma for centuries.
It really is like finding the ultimate decoder ring for a whole civilization's written history. Amazing.
Yeah.
The source also mentions linguistic pattern analysis playing a role. How does that work?
Well, by systematically comparing sounds, grammar, vocabulary across different languages, linguists can spot recurring patterns. And from those patterns, they can reconstruct hypothetical proto-languages.
The ancient ancestors.
The ancient ancestral languages, yes, from which many modern languages evolved. Proto-Indo-European is the classic example. Through meticulous comparison, linguists have pieced together a picture of this language spoken thousands of years ago, the ancestor of tons of languages across Europe and parts of Asia today.
And it's not just linguistics anymore, is it? The source even brings in DNA studies.
That's absolutely right. Genetics is adding another crucial layer of evidence now. For instance, there's research looking into possible links between Neanderthal genes and brain areas tied to language development.
Really?
Yeah, it offers intriguing clues, though still early days, about the deep origins of human language itself. It's becoming a really interdisciplinary effort, pushing the frontiers of our understanding significantly.
This is all just incredibly thought-provoking. It really makes you stop and think, why do these mysteries matter so much? It's not just an academic curiosity, is it?
No, certainly not. As the source puts it so well, these mysteries are like windows into human culture and connection. Those untranslatable words. They reveal the sheer diversity of human experience, how different cultures carve up the world conceptually.
It's in lost languages, the isolates.
They help us piece together our shared human past, understand the long, tangled history of migrations and interactions. They preserve echoes of that past.
And what about those often overlooked dialects?
Well, they really highlight the resilience of smaller communities, their ability to hold on to distinct cultural and linguistic identities, even when surrounded by dominant languages. And as we saw, breakthroughs like potentially reclassifying Sumerian,
Right.
they show the power of science, of inquiry to continually refine, even overturn our understanding of history.
So ultimately digging into these linguistic enigmas.
It really fosters a sense of maybe intellectual humility, and it definitely deepens our curiosity. It enriches our appreciation for the incredibly complex and varied ways humans communicate and connect.
The source definitely reminds us that Ikigai, Etruscan, Basque, they're just a tiny sample from this huge, fascinating world of language mysteries. So for you listening right now, What particular language mystery sparks your interest? What makes you want to dig deeper?
Yeah, we genuinely love to hear your thoughts. Exploring these puzzles is an ongoing journey, There's always more to uncover.
And speaking of uncovering things, we've actually got some exciting future content planned that will even touch on the uh, hidden codes of digital slang. It shows these mysteries aren't just in the ancient past.
Not at all. It's all part of that same continuous story, isn't it? How humans use language creatively to build connections and make meaning, whether it's thousands of years ago or, well, right now online.
So we'll leave you with this thought. Language truly is a living, breathing mystery. It's constantly evolving. We really encourage you to keep exploring its magic in your own way.